Happy Monday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Got a big winter workout update today up on BuckeyeScoop.com nice and early. We had a great nugget from Nevadabuck. We're going to go through some of the guys that have really been breaking out during the testing and a lot of the winter stuff that they're doing. This is a grueling part of the year for these young guys. Everyone is back in the swing of things, and it's time to really work towards enhancing your position on the roster. A lot of new guys to impress from the coaching staff with Matt Patricia and some of these guys showing up. Got to impress the coordinator. So there's going to be a lot of competition this spring. So we're going to break down some of the names that we've heard and talked about. We're going to take your questions as well. As always, we appreciate you guys joining us. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys being on here each and every night. This is kind of the dead of winter, but we're almost to March. I mean, we're a few days out. So it's all downhill into spring practice, camp, and then the season. So we were kind of through the doldrums, and we're here rocking each and every night with you guys, regardless of the time of the year. So with that being said, I'm going to bring in my good friend, Nevadabuck. Nevada, you had a great nugget that got out nice and early today. And also, I want to plug the fact that we are doing special promotion for any current BuckeyeScoop.com members, and also any people that would like a replica achievement of the national championship trophy, the gold trophy that Ryan Day held on stage. If you join our site by April 15th, you get a special, it's a really cool little icon next to your name, and it's people are going crazy for that thing. We've done this a few times where we'll have kind of like a one of one. It's a little achievement that you get next to your profile, and you can display your favorite badges. It's really a cool thing inside of our system. So if you guys want to join BuckeyeScoop.com, you have until April 15th to do it. And once it's April 15th, that trophy goes away forever. But if you're a member of our site with a continuous membership, your badges never expired. You get to display them forever. So Nevada, leading into this winter workout nugget, it was really in depth about some of the guys that have been stepping up as Mickey Marotti has been putting them through the paces. Who are some of the guys that have been standing out in the Woody Hayes this winter?
Well, we got a report from the second wise man, who's a pretty good source when it comes to team stuff. And he was talking about, I was asking him, like, hey, give me 5 guys that just stand out to you that you think that are difference makers, that are, just kind of a cut above, this group. And the first name that he talked about was Ethan Owanawa, the big tackle from Rice. He just says this guy is a powerhouse. Not really classically trained. He came in with virtually no diet plan, a training regimen that they kind of described as somewhat, I don't know, antiquated, whatever you want to refer to it as. But Coach Mick has got a big piece of material here to work with, and a guy that they're not expecting him to get significantly smaller, but they do expect him to get in a lot better shape, because the strength and conditioning program at Ohio State is light years different than what you get at Rice. And I think that's what people forget sometimes when they see these transfers come in, is that all strength and conditioning programs, all coaching, all analysis, all training tables aren't the same. And we saw it last year with Will Howard. Will Howard came in and he's like, look, with all due respect to Kansas State, I really wasn't coached that much at Kansas State in comparison to what I'm getting here at Ohio State. So, these guys, these transfers can come in and they can see, wow, man, there's a big difference at Ohio State. And I think Ethan is the guy that's going to really benefit from that. And you know yourself what a big, impact Coach Mick has on these guys, and, how highly regarded he is, and what he can do with a guy like this who's already insanely strong. You've seen some of his workout stuff. I mean, this kid is insanely strong, but you throw that in combination with practicing best on best against the best players in the country, getting a great diet, and then having Coach Mick working with you every day. I really think that Ethan's going to be an absolute powerhouse for Ohio State in 2025.
Yeah, Ethan is an interesting case because he's a guy that really has blown up, and this is why a case in point as to why it's difficult to evaluate offensive linemen. I'm going to show you guys a photo of him from 2019 that I texted you today, and I was like, well, this is why it's hard, because this is a kid that in 2019, you can't take a kid who's this small and underdeveloped, and obviously we're at 2025 now, so it's been a full 5-6 years, but this is part of the this is part of the process that's really tough, is when you've got a kid. This is him at his high school at Cinco Ranch High School, getting named the lifter of the week, or some sort of achievement thing that they do. I like stuff like this in high school. I think that you need to do stuff where it recognizes kids. But this is what he looks like in high school. So I mean, if I said that this guy is a gargantuan offensive tackle, like literally it says, like, because I was doing a little research today, Ethan Onyanwa, like decent looking kid, but I mean, if I said that he was a linebacker or a tight end or a safety or something, you guys would be like, okay, that's about right. And then you look at so that's literally February of 2019. And then, you look at a photo of him from a game last year, and he's what, 70 pounds heavier, probably. I mean, if he's 330 or 340, I mean, there's photos of him, at practice that we saw, like what he was practicing with Ohio State, where he looks, I mean, he's sizable. Like, this is a photo that was taken by somebody. And this is him at practice. He's on the left and Philip Daniels on the right. So much bigger. I mean, he's listed at 335 on Rice's roster. So probably means he's 345, 350. But he's huge, So again, that's why it's hard to look at some of these kids in high school and you say, well, God, why would we, how did we miss on a guy like him? It reminds me of Joe Tooney. Joe Tooney started at left tackle for the Chiefs this year. He's been a Pro Bowler. He was excellent with the Patriots and went to NC State. He's out of Kettering Alter, and we passed on him because he was small. He was 230 pounds. When he was in high school, 240-ish maybe. Ends up at NC State, grows. Obviously, he's become an incredible NFL player, an All-Pro, and a guy that obviously should have been a Buckeye, but this is what happens. And this is why the portal is amazing, because a kid like Ethan Onyanwa, if this is the olden days, he's a guy that really outplayed his recruiting spot initially when he came out, but now he's going to have played Ohio State. So these kids it's like they get a second chance at their dreams by just the ability of the portal. So he's much bigger, much more stout. And he's a good, solid dude. Now, the thing that he's definitely going to do is he's going to lose some weight when he's here, because they're going to run him a lot. And, and plus, Rice has money. It's a private school. I'm not sure how invested they are in the sports program. I'm sure that most of these schools that have serious money like Rice, they've made investments in the dietary stuff, but it's nothing like Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State has dietitian on staff, is at every meal, monitoring the intake. You get weighed constantly when you're a heavy guy. So he's got to get his weight dialed in. And plus he has a big, there's a big deal with the NFL this year where it's this is his money year. So there are a lot of guys last year that were coming back to the team, that, they came back for that senior year or whatever, kind of like he's in that senior year. He's got that runway right now where it's guys really dial in their diet. They stop drinking alcohol as much. They stop going out as much, and they really hone in, because it's for the next, 11 months, if you just dial in, you could become as rich as you want to become. And a lot of these guys, like Jack Sawyer and some of these guys that kind of gave up the nightlife and everything, they all get to go show all this off at the combine, because these guys they're leaner, they're faster. They spend more time training and taking care of their bodies and acting like pros. And it's great. And that's something that a lot of guys do going into their senior years, where they know, hey, this is it. There is no option here. And, every single week I want to put my best foot forward, and I want to look good at the combine. And I want to look good when these teams come to scout practice. And so it'll be really interesting to see what he looks like after being in the program for a few months, because you see these dramatic changes in body types. And I mean, I lived it in 2012 when Urban showed up, man. We had our guys, we cardioed them to death. Our linemen lost, I forget how many hundreds of pounds of fat and gained how many hundreds of pounds of muscle, but Mickey had the spreadsheet out, and it was just an ungodly amount of fat ran off those kids, because we need them to be in better shape. And I think that that's what's going to happen here with both these guys. I mean, Philip Daniels can surely get stronger and keep toning up and keep improving his diets, because now that you're at Ohio State, you've got the template of Paris Johnson Jr., Josh Simmons, 2 first-round tackles that literally just, they were in your chair right before you got here, Ethan Onyanwa. Like, you have 2 top, I mean, Paris top 6 tackle, and I think that Josh Simmons could sneak into the top 10 if he can work out a pro day, which is a rumor. So we'll see. Nevada, who is the next name on your list?
Well, the next name is a guy that's one of my favorite guys in the class, linebacker out of Texas, Riley Pettijohn. Riley is just, I mean, he's the prototype. He's what you were looking for in a modern linebacker, 6'2", 225 pounds, can run, strong as heck, fast processor. The guy that's really, really smart, really, really, just a really, really bright kid. So, combination of great athleticism with high intellect, great for any position on the football field, but especially good for a linebacker who's it's so important for you to to read, react, and see your keys and have the intelligence to kind of process that in real time. Difference between good and great at linebacker something is that millionth of a second, and he seems to be one of those guys that's got that natural instinct, that natural ability to anticipate, and can't wait to see what he's going to do in spring ball when the pads come out. But this is a really bright kid, really strong kid, and super athletic, and like I said, one of my favorite, probably my favorite defensive player in the class. At least if he's not one, he's 1A, but a great addition for Ohio State from Texas, and that's number 2 on the list.
Yeah, and Riley's the guy that's got the land of opportunity in front of him at linebacker because he's a superstar commitment that James was able to hold on to. Great family. But that linebacker room needs some guys to step up. If Sonny's locked in as a starter, it'll be a captain. I would be at this point shocked if he's not the block O as well. I think he's going to get kind of all of them ticked off the box, and he's going to have one of those big senior years and be an All-American and that type of thing. So, but it'll be interesting to see if Matt Patricia uses him to rush, and not just from a linebacker depth, from a defensive end spot, because I think that he's a guy that has the ability to stand up and rush on the outside at the edge. And I don't know how many guys we have that can pass rush on the edge. I mean, obviously, Caden Crane and Kiata have been progressing. But, do you move Kenyatta inside and have him rush over the guard and bring Sonny down and have your dime look where you've got Lorenzo Salles Jr. in there as the dime guy? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what Matt Patricia does because this is what I talked about in the pre-show a little bit, is when you get a new coordinator, man, it's all starting from scratch. Now, obviously, you've got your position coaches all intact, which is it's kind of rare to have a brand new coordinator, but all the position coaches still remain. But he might see something or have something he wants to do with some of these guys. And you need some speed guys. And when you only play 2 linebackers, man, it's like you need guys that can really run and fill the alleys and get to where they need to get to, because it's not as it's just a little different than when you have that third linebacker playing Sam a lot. So I'm excited about him. He can really run. He was a great pull again by James Laurinaitis, who's one of the best recruiters in the country already. And I'm excited to see what his future looks like. Nevada, who is your third member of the list?
The third member is a kind of an less heralded wide receiver from the West Coast, Phillip Bell. Phillip's an interesting kid, the kid that I've had a chance to see a lot in high school, being out on the West Coast. Really tough upbringing, man. I mean, like, really has been through a lot of turmoil. Lost his mom recently. Been through stuff with his dad. And it's kind of a mess. And so I think him coming to Columbus is him kind of getting away, him kind of looking for a fresh start, and the football is really kind of an outlet for him. But he's a kid really easy to root for. Style of play reminds you a lot of Chris Olave, just a lot about him, his demeanor, the way he carries himself, the way he conducts his business. Very Chris Olave-like in his approach to football and his approach to life. But a guy that's making noise already, and one of the context clues you look for is the number. What number they give you when you get here, and he got number 1, and that at least he was wearing that on. Let's put it this way: he's wearing that on the sideline. I'm not saying that he's going to be number 1 going forward, but that's the number he was wearing on the sideline, and that's usually a pretty good indication that the staff feels pretty good about you, You know how coveted those single digit numbers are, and Phillips the guy that I'm excited about, and second Wiseman certainly excited about, and that's why he was number 3 on the list.
Yeah, I mean if you're a freshman and you get number one, man, that's as high as it can go because those guys all want number one, especially Ennis wants it bad. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets it. But yeah, a lot of talent. Again, it's the receivers are so deep that you hope he can make an impact. I mean, with Mylan Graham probably being the 4, Bryson Rogers, who knows? It's going to be interesting. I mean, for those freshmen, it's easy to pop off. I mean, when you saw what JJ did last year, and obviously JJ's a different animal than basically every player we've ever had at that position. But it'd be interesting to see what he does in spring football. Nevada, who is your 4th name?
4th name, 5-star quarterback, Tavian St. Clair. Yeah, Tavian's a guy that, you're not seeing how he's doing throwing the ball. You're not really seeing how he's doing in terms of being, on the field. But off the field, he's a leader. He's a guy that the other kids naturally gravitate towards, which, so he's kind of got that alpha dog leadership characteristics. Big horse of a kid. He's a young guy, but he's big, and he fills out the uniform well, moves really well. So surprisingly athletic for any position, let alone a quarterback. And I think the combination of the athleticism, the quick movement, the fast twitch, along with just that swagger and that natural leadership capabilities, I think is really kind of turning some heads. Do I think he's going to play meaningful minutes this year? I certainly hope not, because I think depending on any incoming freshman quarterback to play at this level is just that's a huge ask. But do I think he's the future? Yeah, I think he's the future, and I think Ohio State feels that way as well. And certainly his first time here on campus, he's made a really positive impact on the staff and on the coaches and on the other players. So that's why he's number 4 on the list.
I mean, I think there's a good shot he could play this year. I think that he's a guy that's gonna be hard to keep off the field with his talent, his traits, his competitiveness, and his speed. And I mean, we're gonna see. I mean, he is a superstar rocket ship of a prospect, and he's a guy that, if a guy can cover man in Matt Patricia's defense, he's gonna be playing. So again, this is it's go time for a lot of these guys. I know they're only 2nd-year guys, like Bryce West and Aaron Scott and some of these guys that are really good players. I mean, this is going to be a really competitive room with Davidson returning, with Jermaine Matthews Jr. returning.
Dude, you're talking about Devon Sanchez, and I'm talking about Tavian St. Clair.
Oh, my fault. I thought you said Devin because I thought that was the order was in. So I apologize. I saw your thunder on your next one.
I'm moving them around, man. I'm moving them around there. Just make sure you're paying attention, so you're not sleeping or anything like that.
No, I'm getting ready for the next segment, but I think that with Tavian, he's just in a different spot because obviously being a freshman playing quarterback is going to be, it'd be tough. But I mean, this is a thin quarterback room, man. I mean, and we got a guy who's never started and he's small compared to Will Howard, so. Then you got Lincoln. I mean, it's different now, and I feel like these young quarterbacks can play earlier and earlier. Like we see freshmen that actually play minutes, and So again, I'm like you. I hope he doesn't play unless he's just incredible. But it's a different time and space with the way that these guys have quarterback coaches, the way that these guys can start to play 7-on-7, which they started to do last year. Some of these guys can come in and ball right away. So it's going to be interesting to see what we get out of Tavian St. Clair this year, especially if Lincoln takes off after spring ball, because again, that anything can happen. Like I think that we're going to have significant movement after spring practice with guys that aren't happy with where they are on the depth chart, that Lincoln might want to go start somewhere this year. If he gets beat out by Julian Sainer, doesn't feel like he has a shot, like Tavian St. Clair is your backup, and when you've got a smaller quarterback, man, it's like, Tavy got to be ready to go. So Nevada, I actually completely blew the cover on your final guy, Devon Sanchez, but give us a little bit of your report on Devon, because he's the guy that I'm the most excited about in this whole winter workout report. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, he's just a great player. Great, great family, terrific in workout, terrific in testing. And he's the prototype. He's a 6'2", 175-pound cornerback, long, can run with anybody, super athletic, super smart. Just born and bred to be that alpha dog #1 type of corner. And I agree with you. And he'll definitely play this year. I think he'll play big minutes for us. Certainly on special teams. Certainly, I think he's probably the nickel back this year, but he's definitely going to play. And I just think he's the next great one. He's the next great cornerback at Ohio State in the long, long line of terrific NFL cornerbacks we have. He's the next one, and I don't think there's any doubt about it. And the guys know it. He knows it, and it's not a matter of if, just a matter of when he's going to hit the field. And when he does, you'll immediately know he's. I mean, Devon Sanchez is different, and you guys will see that when you see him on the field.
Yeah, I mean he's like a Jeremiah Smith type guy where you just can't miss him. I mean you're gonna hear him, you're gonna see him, and he's gonna play. And again, I talked about that quarterback room is your corners are really expensive, so it's gonna be interesting to see what that room turns into, who shakes out. Again, they're looking for a lot of help because and again, I don't know how much we're gonna play nickel, how much we're gonna play with the three high safeties. I have no idea. Obviously, I think it's something that's going to be interesting to see who fills in. I think that Lorenzo Styles Jr. has to have a bigger role just because I thought he played a lot down the stretch and played well as a dime guy when we had our 6 DBs in the game. But be interesting to see what we do with Devon Sanchez because I think that he's a guy that he's going to be ready to go. And he's a guy that you're going to have to get out there and he's going to be a freshman that's going to be playing a lot for us. There's going to be a youth movement in the back end, obviously, with our two great safeties, and Denzel Burke taking off. But I think that some of these young guys they're 5-star talents, so it's time for to get them out there and see them produce the way that we know that they can produce. Nevada, these guys have wrapped. They're not wrapping up whenever they're getting into some of the 6 a.m. stuff now, but just overall feel and buzz for what's been going on because it's way different when you lose that much senior leadership, and I'm sure Mickey had to beat some of the tequila out of these guys after they had their victory parade for a couple weeks. But your thoughts on the overall buzz from the Woody Hayes right now?
Yeah, it's just different. It's different because how long the college football playoff took and how much that took out of the guys. To have a season stretch into late January is just kind of crazy. So it's been. I feel like everything's just been kind of pushed back, and we're on a later schedule this year. I think that's probably going to become the norm kind of going forward. But I feel like we're just kind of getting into it. I feel like it's taken a while to kind of get into it. It's taken a while to kind of shake the celebratory mode that was the celebrating the national championship, and now it's kind of now the clock now starting to feel like it's starting to pick up, and people are starting to really look towards 2020. We stopped celebrating 2024, and now we're looking forward to 2025 because, like you said, we lost so many veteran leaders, so many starts. I don't know how many hundreds, thousands of games and starts that we lost off of last year's team, but when that door opens, that's opportunity for somebody else. So as sad as we are as fans to see those guys go, these guys are excited because this is their time. And so I feel there's like a lot of excitement regarding the competition that's coming in and the fact that we've got 2 new coordinators. And none of us really know what to expect from Matt Patricia, and nobody's really sure how he's going to deploy guys like C.J. Hicks. And you've talked about rushing off the edge, but C.J. is a guy that could move into a role like that. And so we've got position changes, we've got wide open spots, we've got grad transfers coming in from other schools, and I just think it's just a lot of nervous energy, excitement going as people realize stuff's starting to get real for 2025 because spring football is almost upon us.
Yeah, and I've kind of lived this as a player, a little bit as a coach, but more as a player. Like in 03, we had a class that was like this class that we just left, and we had all the guys that beat the Miami Hurricanes, like Craig Krenzel and Tim Anderson and Will Smith and Chris Gamble, who's obviously a junior who declared. Sapanovich, Ben Hartsock. I mean, we had Michael Jenkins. We had like this humongous senior class that was um, really accomplished. You know, they won the national championship, and they all came back. Now the difference was this was kind of the inverse of this class where they won the Natty as juniors, and then they lost to Michigan, ended up going to um, the Fiesta Bowl, beat Kansas State in a game that was it was great, but it just I always joke that the funniest thing ever is that my freshman year we we had a good season. We lost to Michigan. We did not win the Big Ten, but we won the Fiesta Bowl. And this is back when that was, I mean, going to the Fiesta Bowl was a huge deal. And so we played a really good Kansas State team that they beat Oklahoma like 55 to like 14 in the Big 12 championship game. It was like one of the craziest games I've ever seen because I think Darren Sproles ran for about 5 million yards in that game. But we win that game against a really good Kansas State team. And I remember I was like, so when do we get our rings? And they said, oh, we don't get rings. And I was like, we don't get rings? We just won the Fiesta Bowl. They're like, oh no, we didn't win the Big Ten. So we did not get a ring. And I was like, I'm fine with that. I'm good with it. I mean, it was funny because I mean, like, we're probably the only program in the entire country that would not give out a ring for winning a BCS game back then. And that was a good BCS game. And the Fiesta Bowl was a big deal back then. But we never got rings, which again, I'm fine. I don't wear my rings anyways. But you know, when we got back and all of a sudden we started winter workouts, it was like, oh, this is it's always surreal that first workout when those guys are all gone. You know, they're all in Arizona training, or they're in LA, or they're Miami, wherever they're training at. And you start those winter workouts and you're like, wow, like Shane Olivier's gone. So that right tackle job is wide open now. And you know, some of these guys, you know, Michael Jenkins is gone. Craig Krenzel's gone. I mean, we had the quarterback derby. We had Justin Zwick and Troy Smith. So I mean, like, there was like a different type of excitement, I guess, and maybe anxiety because we had kind of the young guns. Like, and a lot of the guys that were on the team that I was on that year, that the class above me was like the most heralded Ohio State recruiting class like ever. You know, that was the one that had, you know, Mike DeAndrea, Justin Zwick, you know, as like kind of the headliners. And then you had Maurice Claret, who obviously wasn't there anymore. Then you had Santonio Holmes, you had AJ Hawk, you had Bobby Carpenter, you had Mangold, you had Rob Sims, you had Quinn Pitcock. I mean, Mike Kula. I mean, that was the deepest class ever at Ohio State because you just had so many guys that were big time contributors. But like, that was kind of the class that was now the leaders of the show, but they were still only juniors. So I mean, our senior class that year were guys like Simon Frazier and Dustin Fox and Mike Nugent, Lydell Ross. So it was probably a below average senior class in terms of overall talent. Like, you know, Nugent got drafted high, Dustin got drafted, but I think that was it. So it was a kind of like a changing of the guard type year, and that's kind of what this is. This is like a changing of the guard type of year because it's not like you lose half your starters. Like with this year's team, like we lose like almost all of our starters. So it's a true different kind of a test, and this is going to be a great test for Ryan Day. It's going to be a test for the leadership of the team because we don't have a ton of senior leadership on this team, and we got some guys that'll be fine. Like Sonny will be, I'm sure, vocal, and there's going to be guys that are going to have to grow into vocal leaders. But I don't know who, like, if there's an old guy on the offense that is like a stone cold hardcore like leader type guy. I don't know. I mean, obviously we've got some tight ends that are older. Our receivers are still relatively young. You know, CJ Donaldson's here from West Virginia. He's been here for a couple months, but he's not, you know, he doesn't have much clout yet. I mean, our quarterbacks are very young. They don't have, you know, the quarterback has to be a leader, but it's a lot easier when you've played and you've got some stats and you're older. So that'll be fascinating to see how the leadership develops internally. Because the thing about last year's team is we had some of the best leaders in the history of the program, led by Will Howard and Jack Sawyer and Cody Simon and Trey Henderson and those guys. And there's going to be a big void this year, and that's going to be something that Randy's got to find out. Without any thoughts on that, we'll get into a little bit of film study.
Well, now you see, I learned something new on every show. Every show, when I listen to you talk, I learn something. It could be about an insight about coaching, or an insight about playing or nutrition or something like that. And I learned now what I'm going to get you for your birthday this year. I'm gonna get, looking for that perfect gift to get the guy that has everything. I'm gonna get you, Kirk. I'm gonna get you a Fiesta Bowl ring, a Fiesta Bowl champions ring, there, to kind of fill the void that has been kind of left in your life from not having that Fiesta Bowl ring. What do you think about that?
I hate rings in general. Like, I don't wear any of them, so I don't really care. I mean, like, I'm 40 years old, man. I don't need to go. I mean, I got a tree in the grove. Like, I mean, you can check my resume. I don't need to walk around wearing my rings. Like whatever. And again, like, there's some guys that, like, that's their flex, is that they wear their ring that they won 20 years ago. Or the better ones are the guys that wear the rings that never even played in the games, and they just walk around wearing the rings over. And I'm like, great, huge contribution. I would say, like, if the team could have left you at home and there would have been no difference in the scoreboard or difference in anything, then, like, I mean, I don't think that you're that important. But again, we give everybody rings, but I don't know. And then the best part ever to the whole story is that in 2011, and I've said this a million times on here, 2011, we play in the dumbest bowl game in Ohio State history, bar none. We're 6-6. We play the 6-6 Florida Gators in the Taxler Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida, which, again, nice resort, because it was at TPC Sawgrass, that's the one hole on 17 that's like the island. So that was really cool to see that and stay there. But, like, nobody wanted to play in that game. The coaches were all fired. The players didn't want to play in it. And we go out there and we lose. And we got a ring for that game that we lost when we had 7 losses. And I didn't even want it. I gave mine to the intern. As I said, the intern can have my ring. Because, of course, our poor little interns that are unpaid, they work 80 hours a week and they don't make $1. They make them pay for their rings. Like, Ohio State makes them pay for their rings. I'm like, you're gonna make these kids that are they're college kids, and they make $0 and they work 80 hours a week, and you're gonna make them pay $350 for this stupid, crappy ring? Yes. I was like, give Jason Osborne, great kid. I said, give him my rings. I don't want it. We don't deserve rings when we lose 7 games. But again, we're soft as a society and dumb, so it's just like, I don't know. I don't have words. Like, the fact that we got, and there's some guys that display those rings. They have them in, like, their trophy cases. A 7-loss season.
Did it have the score? Did it have the score, like, inscribed on the side of it or something like that?
I have no idea, because I never saw it. I never wanted to see it. I didn't look at it. Like, I mean, I don't know what it could possibly say, but it was a bowl gift from Tax Slayer from the bowl game. Every player that plays in the game gets a ring. So I don't know if it put the losing score on it. I have no idea. But I was, like, so dumbfounded by the fact that we're getting a ring from a bowl game that we lost, and we had 7 losses this season. And I was like, I literally did. I was like, I don't want any memory of that in my brain ever. Like, I mean, you guys wonder why I drink so much beer? It's like probably to burn 2011 out of my head, because I get sick and tired of, like, I just, like, I mean, between Tress getting fired, Terrell getting kicked off the team, suspensions every week, and we lost 7 times in one season. And I was like, I was really happy to be a part of that season, because it gave me a reason to never complain about losing by 1 point to Oregon or losing a home game to Michigan when we get to go to the playoffs and we still have a chance to make a run. Because the very next year we went undefeated. We went 12-0, played a really soft schedule. We weren't very good in 12 at all. Like, I mean, our team that was not a great Ohio State team, but we played like an Indiana Hoosiers version of a schedule. So we were able to skate through and go undefeated. But that 7-loss season was the best, man. Because I was like, we found so many ways to lose games. Like, we lost to Purdue, and, like, so many ways to lose games. And then somehow we beat Wisconsin, who was the best team in the conference, and won the Big Ten. And they had Russell Wilson at quarterback. Somehow we beat them, but we lost to all these turds. So it was amazing. It was quite the ride. Do you remember that season at all? I mean, that had to have been, I didn't even know message boredom or anything at that point, but I mean, you had to have been, like, right in the thick of it in 2011. Now, that was your boy B Fox.
No, B Fox. No, I was at the Wisconsin game when we won, and I remember after we won the game that people were calling to just give Fickell a 5-year contract. Just give him the contract. Just give him the contract right now. And I was on I'm not quite sure Luke's ready yet to be the head coach at Ohio State.
Oh my
But
God.
some people are ready to go all in on the fixture right then. I think that might have been premature. That might have been a mistake, but we didn't do that. But yeah. No, I was in the height of inside information at that point. It, you know, I won't say it's better than now, but it was as good as now. That was we were getting information in real time. So much so that they convinced that we had bugged the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, which we kind of had. But that was fun.
The bugs still are there, baby.
The bugs are
what do you
still there. They better
quick,
sweep the conference rooms.
Sweep the conference rooms. I got a quick shout out. I appreciate you, Sean, as always. It's Where It Goes One's birthday is today. So again, I get these requests from our guys. So I appreciate the mods. So happy birthday, my dude. Thanks for being on here every night. But yeah, it's that was the best play ever because Devin Smith ran the wrong route. Braxton did the wrong thing, and they connected and had one of the great weird plays of all time in Ohio State history. We just threw it deep, and Wisconsin let the guy get behind him, and it was. I mean, we gave up like a 60-yard bomb right after we took the lead, and then we threw that Hail Mary at the very end, and we won. And it was just like, it was one of the weirdest games I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I couldn't imagine what it was like
on the play because I'm seeing Braxton going, and I'm screaming for him to run because he's got the corner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then he throws it. I'm like, what is he doing? And Devin was wide open, so that worked out. But yeah, I Nevadabuck was screaming for him to run. That was probably not the right call.
I'll tell you what, that was like the most improbable game of all time because you got to consider like how good Russell Wilson turned out to be, and we beat that team and how good they were versus how bad we were. And it was crazy. So. All right, we're going to do a little film. We've got some runs that we can break down a little bit. So, I know you guys love these film breakdowns. We can watch some of Trey Henderson, Quinshawn. But you can see some of the line stuff that we like to look at. Obviously, I love to look at. You can see Josh Simmons is going to be I think he'll be the first. If his knee checks out, it could be the first tackle off the board. He is so fast. He's he's cat quick getting into this double team. Austin Sourville really gets better as this tape goes on. But these are just explosives from Quinshawn. And this is Trey here. And you look at this combination block from Seth right here working up. I mean, Seth is really good, man. We miss him. And it's amazing we still made this run, but this is about perfect by Seth to cover him up. And then this jump cut by Trey in the hole is fantastic. Jumps out into space. Runs out of bounds. Which again, I don't mind that. When a guy when the play's kind of over, if he runs out and saves a hit, I'm good with it. I'm gonna get into this Quinshawn run. This is just a G pull. Some of the stuff Heartline could run. Super easy to do. Again, this is good work by Austin Sourville. Again, this is pretty early in the season. You still got Josh in here. But little counter G play. Same side handoff to Will. Again, he fakes a sprint out pass to kind of hold these guys a little bit. Again, this is some of the Chip Kelly stuff that I love. And it's just super easy, man. I mean, Quinshawn gets 7 yards before he gets touched. So I love watching what Chip does here. And this is one where we just split it. And this is really good by our center, our backside guard. Josh Fryer really actually was really good this year. He does this little gallop step here where he kind of stutters for a second. This is something that a lot of offensive line coaches are starting to teach. They gallop in, push the guy, and you create this huge hole. So again, you don't have to get 5 pancakes to get a massive hole. You just need to get good movement on your double team, which these guys do. And then, Josh Simmons just has to fit up here, climb, and then let your running back do let Quinshawn do the rest. So this is excellent by everybody. This is excellent by our center. He catches the 3 technique, jumps over the top of Donnie. He's right there just to get a stalemate. Donnie climbs up, and it's curtains. So I don't know. I love watching some of the stuff that these guys do because with a lot of these runs, it doesn't have to be 5 pancakes across the board. It's just, you get a little crease. This is why you recruit great running backs too, because when they find the room, they're really hard to stop. And this is just Trey being Trey. This is a fantastic run. Nevada, you're gonna miss this guy, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I think most of the fan base missed him for 4 years because I don't think they really appreciated what we had. Somehow this narrative started that he didn't have vision or he was soft or well, I don't know what it was, but boy, he was terrific. And like I've seen mock drafts lately that have him going in the first round. And which do I believe he's a first round talent? Absolutely. I think if he's deployed in the right system with the right team, he is going to be absolutely, dynamite with somebody because he's got that top end breakaway speed. That's the one thing that he's got over Quinshawn. And I love Q. I'm so glad that Q came. I don't think we win the national championship without Q. I think he was that important to keeping Trey healthy and having two fresh backs. But Trey just has that other gear that when he gets away, he's gone. And I think that's why he's going to slip into the first round for some lucky team late in the things, which means he's going to go to a good team, which is going to make a good team even better. But yeah, special player for sure.
Yeah, I think that this is Jelani on the backside here. This is really good by Jelani. So Jelani's backside here. This is a block that generally, it should be pretty easy. It's the cutoff, but he fights it pretty hard here because this is just a real easy inside zone play where these guys are working here. He's cutting off on the front side, and you got your double team here. And this cutoff block is usually a pretty easy block, but he's fighting him pretty good here. This is great by Jelani, and Jelani keeps working it. So again, this isn't some avalanche of humanity with this guy going backwards. This is kind of a stalemate, which is fine. This guy's buried in here, and there's no surface for the center to hit, so he just climbs to the second level. This cutoff is a real easy block. But the double team's good. Again, with Donnie and Josh Simmons, these guys doubling up. And Josh does a great job here, pressing his hip, pushing him over the face of Donnie, and then squaring up on this linebacker. But Trey, he presses this, and most running backs would run right in here and get about 2 yards. But he hits a little stutter here in the hole, and then he's got the feel where this is all kind of mucked up. And the safety is obviously coming to fill here, and this guy's here, so he gets up in there, and then he bounces it out, and he gets a nice little gain here. So again, like those are little like feel things that you just get better and better at. And here's Quinshawn, same game. Again, this is really good by. Josh is doing the gallop technique again, where these guys, they're taught kind of to gallop. This is something that's become popular with the offensive line circles now, where it's a good way to gain momentum and get a good square double team. But a three technique is a guy on the outside shoulder of the guard, is really heavy into Donnie here. So with him being this heavy into Donnie, there's not really a surface for the double team. So Josh just tries to give him a little push, and then he tries to climb up. And it works out great. And this is tough for Seth. I mean, this guy, he's thinking he's going to be penetrating. He loops over here. So Seth kind of whiffs, but he gets enough of it and doesn't get called, thank God, because they could probably call him for that one on that hold. Good by Tigra. This is it's not a great block, but it doesn't really matter on the front side. You just can't let him cross your face. But Quinshawn does the work here. And again, this is some of the great stuff with Chip is press this hole, see who commits, and if it's all here, you can roll this thing all the way back. Good job by G Scott too. I mean, he's hanging in there. This isn't G's forte, and he's a guy that's going to struggle to make an NFL roster, but he hangs in there enough, and he bounces out to the wide, and again, these are effective runs, man. I mean, like I said, we had 2 first round. I don't know if they're first rounders, but to me, these are day one NFL starting running backs, and I think that here's one of my favorite plays. I love this little speed option toss to Quinshawn because this is so easy to do. And again, they're faking kind of like a counter step here. Like watch Quinshawn here. He takes a little counter step, where it looks like it's going to be like a zone-ish type play. And you look at the footwork of these guys, they think it's a zone-ish type play, and then they turn it right into a speed option where they're optioning this guy. So this isn't a great look to run this into because ideally you would want 7 to be right here, as opposed to out here, because that's who Josh has to work to. And this is almost impossible. But he's such a good athlete that he almost gets there. But I think Carnell Tate takes him here. Donnie can probably be a little more square and just go work straight up to him. And then everyone else is just backside cutoffs here. But this is such a tough play to defend. And good job on the edge blocking. And again, it's just a cheap first down where he doesn't get touched for 10 yards. So just wanted to break some of that stuff down. Nevada, like again, I think one of the big mysteries as we head into the season is what is the running game going to look like with Brian Hartline, and how much of it is like Chip Kelly, how much of it is like Tyler Bowen. How do you amplify what James Peoples can do, and CJ Donaldson, who is our transfer portal back this year from West Virginia. What are your thoughts on what we're going to see out of the running game this year?
Well, I mean, I think that they're going to try to build off some of the success, and I think you'll probably see less of the designed runs from the quarterback spot because, as we mentioned, it's no secret that Julian Sayin is not the physical specimen that Will Howard was, from that standpoint. But there's a lot of that stuff that you can do, that speed option stuff on the outside, where you can avoid getting hits. And I think that's one thing Julian did really well in high school, because Julian was a pretty active runner in high school. I think he had 9 career rushing touchdowns, average over 6.5 yards per carry, kind of an opportunistic runner. But he's a guy that's, kind of slippery, can slide and kind of get down. But for Ohio State, look, you've got 4 experienced guys on the interior. You've got 2 highly regarded tackles that you're bringing in. Ethan could have easily gone the NFL draft and been a 3rd round draft pick this year. I think, maybe even higher than that. So, I think, they've got a veteran line. You've got 1 veteran running back coming from West Virginia. James Peoples got real bullets there. So I think that, they're going to lean into the running game as much as they possibly can. While I think they're going to lean into it more than people think. I think people see Brian Hartline, they see all those wide receivers, and they think we're just going to be air raid. And I just really don't get the sense that that's where they're going to be. I think Brian is going to try to stay away from doing that. I think they're really, really going to seek balance this year, really try to go for that 250 type of balance. And I think the running game is going to reflect that.
I think that you have to protect Julian Sayin, man. You have to. You can't have him back there throwing it 50 times a game. I think you have to lean on the running game. I think you have to protect this young offensive line, especially the tackles. Let him get some confidence running the ball, coming off the ball, mauling guys, especially Ethan. He's a good player, but there's going to be a huge step up in competition coming to Ohio State. So I think you got to protect those guys. You got to run it a lot and grind these games out as best you can, and make sure you get JJ and Ennis and those guys touches. And even if you got to give them touches out of the backfield, I'm going to show one more running play because this is my favorite play in the world because it's so easy to do. And it's something that I think that I wish we did more of. This is something that when teams blitz you or when they want to run cover 0, I love speed option. This is a great look. This is great scheme. This is great everything because you've got, your tight ends back here. They obviously scouted how these guys align. This end being out wide makes them perfect to option out of. This backer being this tight inside makes them very easy for Josh Fryer to get to and pick off. And really, like when you run speed option, the only guy that has to get a block is Josh Fryer. Like, I mean, Tigra's got to just not fall on his face, but these guys don't have to do anything. These guys literally can. I mean, he can evade and try to get to that backside backer, but or you could push it and you gotta have someone climb for this guy as best you can. But when you watch this, I mean, Will catches it and he handles it, and then he gets right to this edge guy. And again, when you've got teams that are aggressive, that get upfield in the pass rush, speed option is the ultimate kryptonite to that. So you get to him, you attack him, perfect pitch, and literally, look how easy Josh Fryer's block is. Like, I'm sorry, but anybody in the Scoop family can make this block. You walk up there, waddle. The linebacker runs underneath you, so he has no chance of getting Quinshon with a full head of steam. This end is in no man's land. And this backside backer is so far back that, I mean, Seth doesn't even have anywhere to go with it. So, I mean, really, Tigra whiffs on the nose guard, and Josh Fryer has the easiest block ever, and you pitch off this guy. I mean, this is so incredibly easy, and you pitch it to Quinshawn, there's nobody there. I mean, it's literally like a free 20-yard gain. So I had to show that because I love speed option. I wish that we would I wish that we would use it more. I wish that we would check to it when we get certain looks like that. Because I think that it's a lot of these pressure defenses and a lot of these teams that like to blitz a lot are very vulnerable to speed option. Now, the thing about option football is people say, well, Kirk, what about the quarterback getting hit? Because you think that I'm going to run it like Tommy Frazier in Nebraska, where you run at the defensive end, you get destroyed, and you pitch it at the last second and pitch it to the tailback. But no, like Will Howard was in no danger there. He pitched it far away enough from the end that the end couldn't even touch him, and he flicked it to Quinshawn, and Quinshawn had a huge gain where nobody had to make a block. So again, that's what you call tremendous scheme. When nobody has to make a block and you get a free 20 yards because you see something, you see the way the defense aligns. Obviously you've got everybody over to the left, so they're worried about JJ and Emeka and Carnell or whoever else is in on the play. And it's like stealing. They're outflanked right away. Worked out great. So we do have a super chat. Nevada, any thoughts on that play? And we'll get into the super chat.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of my favorite plays as well. And I think that is a play that Julian Sane can absolutely execute well. And I think, how many times do you think we ran it? If I'd say gun to your head, how many times do you think we were? I'd say maybe 5 times last year.
Oh yeah, probably less than 10. I mean, because I know every time we run it because it's my favorite. It's my
yeah, me, and it worked. Did it ever not work?
No, it's like free money. Like I mean, and you don't. Like, I love plays where nobody has to get an amazing double team block or some pancake block and like all you got to do is execute the pitch. And you do ball handling at the beginning of every practice, so it's like, I mean, it's super simple to execute. So I don't know. Like I said, with Urban, one of his big things is when teams would go no deep, he used to call it, but it's like cover zero where everybody's blitzing. There's 6 guys blitzing, the other 5 guys are in man coverage. His immediate check was get right to speed option. Because if they've got guys coming on, guys that are blitzing on both edges, go full zone and pitch off that end guy, and then it's going to the crib, it's going to the house, and have all the receivers run as fast as they can in man coverage, and you can't stop it. So, again, there's a reason why he led the SEC in rushing like every year he was down there, is because he had all of these little, he had a lot of plays that were really tough guy plays where you have to get in there and grind, but he had some little things like that where it's like, I mean, you don't even do anything, you just get out there and pitch it off one guy and just Quinshawn, here's a field of green grass for you to run and get as much of it as you can. All right, we're getting some super chats. Appreciate you guys as always. RaveYouTube, thank you for the 10. I hope you're doing great, my friend. I don't see any real weaknesses next year. Quarterback and tight end are fine. Wide receivers and running backs are good, are going to be awesome. Line is going to be solid. Maybe drop off a defense, but still semifinal caliber overall. Nevada, what are your thoughts?
I mean, look, I think quarterback's a question mark because we just don't know. Do I think we'll be fine? Yeah, I think we'll be fine. But it could be great. It could be way better than fine, or it could be worse. So I think quarterback's a question mark for me. And defensive line, I think the pieces are there. I love Edric Houston. I love Caden McDonald. I like Kenyatta Jackson, and I like Caden Curry. But I think that they're going to not be as good as the guys that we had. So I think we're going to have to really lean into Matt Patricia's scheme, and he's going to have to really be in his bag to have us be anywhere near the quality of defenses we've had in the previous years. I think offensively, we can get there potentially just because JJ's a year older and he's JJ Carnell, Brandon Innes, that's about as good as it gets right there. And I love, Mylan Graham and any of the other young guys that we've got. I think running backs were going to be capable. I do like the offensive line. I think tight end with Max Clare, in addition to everybody else that we have, I think it's going to actually be a team strength. But defensive line, big question mark for me, and quarterback, and those are 2 pretty big spots. But hey, look, there's no super teams. Look, the best team in college football next year is probably Penn State, and they're coming to our place to play. And And when James Franklin's got the best team in the country, or one of the most talented teams in the country, I really like our chances in a game like that.
Well, yeah, because they don't have receivers at all, and they've got they got two great running backs, and they've got Drew Aller who's back, and everybody always tells me how great he is, and then I watched him, and he's not really that great. So, um, we'll see. But again, it comes down to Julian Sane. I mean, Julian Sane is, like they're the most irreplaceable player on last year's team by a billion gazillion miles is Will Howard. I mean, if we had Will Howard coming back on this year's team, it would be unanimous preseason number one. But we don't, and that's part of college football. But he was really good, and he was a calming presence. He was a great leader, veteran, the whole 9 yards. But it's going to come down to Julian Sane. I mean, is Julian Sane up to the task? And what's this defense going to look like? Because I think that we were spoiled last year with how good our offense and our defense was, and frankly, it still wasn't good enough for some folks. But I think that it's going to be they're both going to take a step back in productivity this next year. But I think we've got a lot of guys with a lot to prove that want to play well, and but it's just going to be hard to replace guys like Jack Sawyer and JT2 Malone and Ty Leak, and so I think that the problem with Ohio State and with the way we promote our players is that we like some of those guys. The fact that they weren't unanimous All Big Ten, let alone first team All American, it's insane to me. Like when I watched Cody Simon play, that he wasn't anywhere near any All American list. It's crazy. He was a first team All American for me all day. I thought he should have won the butt kiss by how good he was in the playoffs. But just my opinion. Because again, we just don't promote these guys. And Ty Leak's a guy that I'll never understand how he wasn't an All American either. Because I mean, God bless the Kamara guy from Indiana that was All American, and he was the first team All Big Ten D tackle. Not in the same universe as Ty Leak, in my opinion. But that's just me. I've got eyes. I watch all this film, but it is what it is. But yeah, I think that the tight end room is going to be incredible. This is going to be the deepest tight end room I think we've ever had. QB is going to be everything for us, and receivers and running backs I never worry about because we've always had good ones. And the O-line will be good. We've got a really nice trio of coaches, so I'm excited about that. Thank you, Ravi. Appreciate you, my dude, for being on here. Mike Greene, what's up, brother? Thank you for the 5. Big Kirk in Nevada. I think Matty P will win the chip on offense. Very clever and hard to read. I can't wait. On defense, excuse me. I apologize. Yeah, I mean, I think Matty P is going to be, he's going to push Brian Hartline hard, which I think will be really good. And I think it'll push Ryan Day, and I think it'll push CJ Hicks and some of these guys that this is the last hurrah for CJ. I mean, there's no time left. So it'll be interesting to see what he can get out of some of these guys and how he retools the defense. Nevada, your thoughts on Matty P leading and the defense leading us to a championship?
Well, I think the best thing about him is just a fresh set of eyes. I mean, I think it's going to be a new start for a lot of guys. And, I mentioned CJ Hicks before, but, we're breaking in some new safeties. We got some new corners coming on. We've got, guys in the linebacker room. And I think Patricia's coming in with, he's an open slate. He's an open book in terms of stuff. And I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air for some of the guys who might have feel that they were kind of pigeonholed or, kind of put in a spot where the coaches have kind of made up their minds about them. And that part's exciting. And it's also just exciting to see what a guy who's had that much big-time experience can do with this level of talent at Ohio State. And we've never quite seen anything like it. The guy that's that experienced, 3 Super Bowls, former NFL head coach coming to be the DC at Ohio State. So I don't think any of us know what to expect, but I'm excited to see it. And I think it's going to be terrific.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's going to be interesting to see what he gets out of some of the guys that are underachieving, and the dynamic of him walking into, having not coached last year, into a room full of 4 position coaches that won a national championship and were first in the nation in total defense. So that'll be very interesting to check out. Nick Ma 71, thank you, my friend. Thanks for the 10. I'm late. Sorry. You have to apologize. I get people have lives outside of our podcast, but we appreciate you guys that are on here with us every night. People said limited carries, but we saw looked pretty good finding the cut and making it. What do you say? I think James Fields is going to be great this year. I mean, I think he's a guy that is going to come out of nowhere and have 1,000 yards and be beast. I mean, he has to be. I mean, he has to be our bell cow. Do I think he's as good as Trey? I don't think so. I don't think he's as good as Quinshawn. I mean, he could be, but this is a huge year for him. And running backs and sophomores can have monster years. I mean, you got to remember Ezekiel was a sophomore when he won the national title in 14, when he had the 85 yards through the heart of Nick Saban, whatever. So he could have that kind of a year and step in and really have a nice little season. Nevada, your thoughts on James Peoples?
Well, I like James Peoples a lot. I think he's done some great things. And well, the one thing I can tell you, it was a real battle from an NIL standpoint to hold on to him. They did not want to lose him. And they stepped up big time. The collective stepped up big time because, as you're aware, all these schools are always poaching, always looking. And he's a guy that, was on the depth chart, not playing, but they had big plans for him in the future. They sold him on the future, but the future's now. So I think he's going to be terrific. And I agree with you. Is he Trey? No. Is he Quinshawn? I think he's close. I think he's close to Quinshawn, and that's a heck of a compliment because I think Quinshawn's a heck of a back, and I agree with you, a first day starter in the NFL. So I think Peoples can get it done.
Mike Greene, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Kirk, I have a bet with Mello. Can you see Julian Sand hitting 230 at 6'1" QB? God, I don't know. That might be a little pudgy unless he's on the Barry Bonds stuff, but 6'1", 230, I don't know. Probably, I think 220-ish, 215-ish, but I don't know. It depends on where the weight goes. Nevada, your thoughts? Do you think you can see Julian Sand hitting 230 at 6'1"?
That'd be tough, man. That'd be a pretty stout. That'd be a pretty stout kid. That'd be I don't know, like Baker Mayfield after 2 trips through the buffet type of stout. But no, yeah, I think I'm thinking more 220, maybe, yeah, low 220s. I would lean against 6'1", 230 for Julian Sand. I just don't think that he has that kind of frame.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that it's going to be really tough for him um, to do that. Dave Mathis, thanks for the deuce. I need some help with the site. Maybe it's me. Thanks for being an ultra member, my dude. Send us an email, buckeyescoop@gmail.com, and let us know what your issue is, and we'll try to help you out. Appreciate you, my dude. Thanks for being on the site. Thanks for always being on here as well. Poohbeard12, thank you for the deuce. What do you think Patricia does with CJ Hicks, Nevada OH?
I oh
Nevada, I'll let you go with that first.
I think they're going to rush the heck out of him. I think they're going to make him that stand up. I think he's going to do the Baron Browning thing and get it because that's the one thing that he can do really well. I think he's very effective off the edge, and I'm not sure he's as effective in kind of that traditional linebacker role, but as that kind of that stand up defensive, whatever you want to call that position. Um, I think that's his forte, and I frankly think that's the path to the field in the NFL for him. I think that's his path to the field at Ohio State, and so I think that's how Patricia's going to deploy him, and we need that because we don't have not that we had like the great pass rusher this year, but we certainly don't have it next year, and I think CJ could he could be kind of the X factor in that regard.
Um, yeah, I think that he's going to be interesting. He's got a redshirt year, so he's a redshirt junior. I literally just looked it up. So because I thought it was a senior, but he only played in one game his first year, so he's got a redshirt year. But yeah, this is, I mean, kind of do or die at this point. You got a new coordinator in here, and um, I'm sure they're going to try him out at Mike with Sonny and Arvell and whatever. But I mean, Arvell is much better than CJ, and I think CJ's got um horrible frustrations because when you come in as a 5-star kid and you're from Ohio and you're a linebacker, like, 5-star linebackers, you can tell pretty quick if they're really 5-star linebackers or not. And it takes some time to develop, and it's tough sometimes when you've got guys that are used to dominating in high school, but um, instinctively, he just seems like he's not where he needs to be. And I don't know if that's film study, I don't know if that's drills, I don't know what it is, but he doesn't get the ball quick. Now, a way you could make him, an efficient player is make him a pass rusher, make him a rush defensive end, and say, okay, we're going to send you down with the defensive ends during one-on-one pass rush. I want you to go against Ethan Okinawa and beat him. Show me your best move, speed, power. Because again, everybody wants to rush and be a rush defensive end, but like you got to go against some 6'6" or 330-pound dude who wants to kill you. That's not always fun. Not to mention, can you hold up in the run game? Because that's the other thing is if they put you down there at end or they put you at some sort of rush package on third down, like they might just run it at you and just run you over. So that's going to be the interesting thing to see how they use CJ because he got a chance to have a lot of benefit from this move. Sometimes when your coordinator is a guy like Jim Knowles and he's a linebackers coach, like maybe Matt Patricia's got a different opinion of him. Again, this is a classic, like, I don't know if it's Chris Ash to Greg Schiano or what the transition was, but Greg Schiano thought Billy Hooker was like a first round pick, and he was right. And the previous staff didn't think much of him. And Malik turned into a guy who's still playing in the league and had the best safety I've ever seen from a safety in Ohio State history. The 1 year that he went absolutely crazy. So it'll be interesting to see. And again, this is why these next few weeks when they start doing 6 a.m. workouts and conditioning and that kind of stuff, like CJ has a chance to make a great first impression on Matt Patricia because the coaches are out there. They run the 6 a.m. drills. Like each coach has a different drill, and it's it's a great time because the whole team is coached by everybody. Like guys are all rotating between stations, and it's tough, but you get to really see what guys are made of. So it'll be nice to see what Matt Patricia does. All right, Nevada, we can wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, just as look, this is when the work gets done for the 2025 season, and I love this time of year because, like I said, I love hearing the names, man. I love hearing the guys that are getting it done, hearing who the next phenom is, who's the next great player, and every time we've had a great player, we've heard about him first year through the winter workouts. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about it, and we'll be here to report it to you, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah, exactly. There's not much that is surprising when you've got really deep sources because when guys start buzzing, pay attention. Jeremiah Smith was buzzing this time last year, and you saw what he turned into. So appreciate you guys as always kicking it with us. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys being a huge part of our show each and every night. If you guys want to do something huge for us, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. We're trying to grow that in a tremendous way. A lot of you guys have done it. Super easy to do, super quick. You just get it right on your iPhone, your iPad. Click on Apple Podcasts, click subscribe, type in Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe. Super easy to do. Do it on Spotify as well, completely free. So we want to make sure you guys get as much value from the show as possible. So you got it right in your pocket. You guys want to listen to the audio version. So again, I appreciate you guys so much. This has been an amazing run, even through the off season. We're still here cranking. Nice, huge audience tonight, and we just appreciate you guys so very much. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. See you guys tomorrow at 7:10. Go Bucks.